Okay, I'm going to show the process of converting a an acoustic drum into an electronic drum. I have made my mesh head already, and as you can see, it's homemade. You can see the stitches right there, which if they really bother you, you can paint in black so they don't show as much. But they don't really bother me, and this works pretty well. After making this, I find out that uh, there's stronger mesh, the one that they use for pets, and that's the one I recommend using from any construction that you want to make for drums, because it's going to take a lot more hits, and if it can stand a dog clawing at it, I'm pretty sure it can withstand drumsticks. This one lasts fairly okay, but it does rip. But since you made it yourself, it shouldn't be too much to make another one. Like I said, get the pet proof and you should be fine for a long time. Um, and also you won't require to have as many layers on the mesh. Now this is going to be a double zone snare. So what I'm doing right now is building the bridge part, which is going to be this one right here. It's just at the bottom of the drum, mounted inside using the drum screws, just a little piece of wood. You can put something lighter if you have it. Doesn't have to be a piece of wood. Um, could be aluminum or whatever is lighter. Since this is gonna go on the snare stand, it doesn't really matter how much does that weight. Next thing you want to do is you want to get a piece of it's a little square of sanding block. This is regular sanding block that you would use to sand paint. You cut it to measure. As you can see, it's not perfect, but it works. Then you have your cut section. You have to make sure that you take off the sanding part, otherwise your sensitivity is not going to be as good. Once you have your sanding part removed, you're going to have a little block just about that big, and you want it to go inside this part, like right in between where the head would be. So this is going to be in between the head and this part, and your sensor or your piezo is going to be right here. So basically when you have your piezo would be inside in between the mesh and the sponge, and this is just going to be held in place there. To hold both, you will use double-sided tape, just like that. So obviously you put one piece on the sponge and one piece on your piezo. I got the piezos that you can make yourself, but you buy them at Radio Shack. It's that's the part number 2730073, and it's basically the piezo, and you will have to have one of these that connects to a regular 1/4 cable, and that goes through your drum module. Or you can be lazy like me and use the Pintec already made triggers. This is the piezo and this is the connection. It's the same concept, but this is already made, and it has this little red coating which holds the solder in place, and it's still really sensitive. I have it in another drum. It's on my floor tom, and it works really well. So I'm gonna see how this goes, testing this for double zone snare. One zone is going to be obviously the snare itself, and the other one is going to be the rim. Once I install this, it should take a couple of minutes, since I already have the piezo made, and it's just a matter of putting it in place. then we go ahead and do the tests, and I will show you the test in a minute. Okay, we have our double-sided tape and the sandpaper block, which is about 1.25 inches, and that distance is just relative, just so you have a uh, slightly higher than the actual head. So if the head is level with the bottom of the rim, this is supposed to be poking out just a little bit, so when the head is hit, you're gonna have a slight bend on the sponge, which is in turn gonna translate into hits on the piezo, and obviously signal to whatever drum module or VSTs you're using. I have two. I'm using Alesis DM5 and also the Alesis IO. Right now I'm just using the Alesis IO. As I continue building my set, I'm going to incorporate the DM5, but it's only going to be as a MIDI controller. It's not going to be any of the onboard sounds, because they're fun, but once you get used to working with VSTs and better quality samples, the samples from the DM5 just don't cut it. So I'll show you the difference, or if you look at some of my first or second video, when the complete conversion of an acoustic set, I was using the DM5 alone, and you can hear the sound quality is not that great. So this time it's gonna be just a little better. I'll show you the difference, and you can see for yourself. Okay, for your rim piezo, or in this case trigger, you're going to want to leave a pocket on the double-sided tape, so the piezo has full contact with the drum. That way, when you hit the rim, this is absolutely going to register. If you were to just put it double-sided tape, you kill a lot of sensitivity. Now the next thing you do is you put another piece of double-sided tape on top, and that'll be perfectly held in place. I'll show you in a second. Okay, when I have that piezo sandwiched in between the two pieces of double-sided tape, and it's making full contact with the wood of the drum, so when you hit the rim, you do a rim shot, that should be really sensitive. And there's your two connections, the one for the rim and one for the snare itself. Now let's go test it. One thing I forgot to mention is that in order for you to do a double zone drum, that'd be drum sound and rim sound, and you can put any sound on the rim, whatever you have, a cowbell or a cymbal or anything. You will have to have one of these headphone cable Y adapter, which looks like this. Is the two plugs for two cables, and it goes as a stereo on the module. This is preferable because it's only one single cable to the module. It doesn't take a lot of space. It's regular size as the ones that would go for a single zone drum, aka this one. Or you can use a little less sophisticated Y connector, which is this one. Just a headphone plug stereo to a mono cable, and that's how you can do a double zone snare or cymbal or tom or whatever you have your mind set into. So let's test it.